My whole name, Trinity Hall, T Hall to the world, is Chit Chat, self-explanatory, and it's spelled, the chat is spelled with two T's. Trinidad and Tobago, two T's because it's local and I always want to represent where I'm from. Hello and welcome back. It's time for Chit Chat with two T's. As usual, I am your host and counseling psychologist, jvaldez. And with me today, well, you all see we back in the virtual space. All right, y'all guys are a little spoiled with us being in person, but in order for us to bring, quality people to you, sometimes we have to engage in a virtual medium, right? And that's what we're doing today, no different from any other episode. Top tier, premium quality, right? And so today with us, we have all the way from, Michigan?
Is Michigan.
All the way from Michigan in the United States of America, we have with us Kinesiologist Dr. Andrew McIntosh. Yay. That's your roaring crowd, the live audience. Just picture an Oprah-esque situation.
Yeah? I appreciate it. Thank you. A pleasure to be with you.
We're happy to have you. So I'm sure we would have piqued some interest by using the term kinesiologist. So maybe you could tell us what that means, but also a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no problem. You want me to start with the kinesiology or start with me?
Start with wherever the spirit moves you.
All right, okay. Let's start with kinesiology. Get that out of the way. Make sure people are not confused. You understand? So kinesiology is the study of human movement. That's officially what it is.
Human movement.
I came to do my PhD. I was really interested in sports and what was known as sports psychology. So that was my interest. I did a master's in applied psychology, was really interested in applying psychology to sports. Mm-hmm. Did a little bit of that in Trinidad and was really interested in furthering my studies. So I looked at programs in the United States and England, and eventually got something at Michigan State. But it was in the kinesiology field. And essentially the way they approach it in the United States, which I did not know at the time, was there's the study of sports sciences. And as a part of that, there's the study of what is called the psychosocial aspects of sport. So how does sport, or how is sport impacted by an understanding of psychology? So that's how I ended up in the kinesiology program. It meant I had to take a number of courses around physiology and anatomy and so on. Thankfully, me and bio was a friend back in the day.
Bright,
Yeah, we did a little bit of biology back in the day, so did some of those things, but then eventually got back to psychology of sport and how sport is used to impact psychology. So that's kinesiology in a nutshell. I've been in Michigan for 12 years. I have a family, wife and 2 kids. Michigan is cold, in case anybody was wondering. It's just about that time.
It's cold already?
Yeah, it's just about that time of the year, girl. Already, I don't know, like the sun does here, September, and as September winding down, he does wind down too. No more heat. No more heat. So yeah, we dropped. Yeah, about 12 degrees, 13 degrees on our morning now. Yeah, 12, 13 on our morning.
No, thank you.
Yeah, when it get really bad, we drop out to -10 and thing. But for all now, so we good. We good for the.
I don't miss those days. I miss winter clothing, but I don't miss winter or fall too much.
Fall clothing. The winter clothing I could do without, but the fall clothing is all right.
A lot of layers.
Yeah. Winter's a lot of layers for sure. A little bit about me. I have 2 siblings, a brother and a sister. Grew up, spent most of my life in Trinidad, and like I said, just the last 12 or so years, I've been out here. I have worked in HR, organizational development. Always been around psychology in some form, so applied psychology, organizational psychology, educational psychology. And now, thankfully for the last 10 or so years, kind of more into, like I said, that sports psychology space, or that application of psychology in the sociology and life and so on. So that's where I am right now.
Wow, that is that's more than a mouthful. That's quite a lot. But that is a great segue in terms of taking a little sip and seeing what's in our cup. So before you tell us, I'm going to tell you.
Let me take a sip first. I think I sip first.
I'm so excited because we actually have on board Dilmah. You all know Dilmah tea. So today, don't know if you all can see it in the lights, okay? Right, but I am drinking Dilmah organic green tea with ginger. Now, for those of you who would have been with us from season 1, that was when we were really recording in COVIDian times. And most of my tea would have been some form of bush, right? From Library, I believe in the bush, right? I believe God has given us a lot of natural remedies in the bush, right? So I would drink a lot of green tea and ginger and fever grass, or as the hipsters call it, lemongrass, right? But I was really excited. We have Dilmah on board, and they have this pure natural green tea with ginger. So for those of you who aren't able to, go in your backyard and pick your ginger and get your green tea, you can taste this, and it's really amazing. I really like to put a little honey in my tea, but I'm all out right now, and I'm drinking this without honey, and I am not dying. This is very pleasant, very refreshing, and I'm really happy. They also gave me this beautiful mug here. Okay.
It's gorgeous.
You like it? I like it. And on the other side, it has a little quote that says, "We had a kettle, we let it leak. Our repairing made it worse. We haven't had any tea for a week. The bottom is out of the universe." By Rudyard Kipling. I'm a little Kipling fan here and there. I'm still trying to figure out exactly the last part, but I want to believe it means that, without the kettle, we can't have no tea, and without tea, the universe is out of whack, and I could definitely relate to that. So I'm very happy to have Dilmah in my cup today, right? Organic green tea with ginger. I'm very happy to have that in my cup. So that's what's in my cup, Andrew. What is in your cup?
Well, I actually, because we had this session today, I actually went out and looked for some Trinidadian drinks to really feel the vibes now. So I have I have Vitamalt. I found a 6-pack. I only found a 6-pack though, because in Michigan it's kind of dicey now. I'm not living in, when you're living in DC and Miami and Houston, them things be running right through. But
a diamond doesn't can find us anyway.
Things tight out on the side. But I got 6-pack. I done put 2 in the cup already. It probably will finish tonight, but yes. So I appreciate that.
6 they say you found that 6-pack.
A 6-pack.
And they say we'll probably finish tonight.
Yeah, I drink 2 already. Vitamalt not big, it's a small bottle. And I ain't
so it's classic. It's the classic Vitamalt. It's not one of the fancy flavors.
No, I don't really like that flavored one, The ginger, right? But I don't really. Yeah,
I don't know. I kind of like the coconut hibiscus. Did you know there's a coconut hibiscus?
I don't even know that exists. That's what I mean. I know the ginger one, and I know I have another one. I know. It ain't coming to me right now. It's kind of reddish, goldish. I could see it in my head.
I'm sure. I just drink it. But yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm glad you were able to get a little piece of home. That's really nice. So that's what's in your cup. Literally, what is in your cup figuratively? With all the things you told us about in terms of making up Andrew, I'm sure you have a lot going on. So what's happening with you that you'd like to share with us right now?
Well, a lot. So at this time, the biggest thing for me is really fatherhood. That has been interesting. My 2 boys, I have twin boys. They are 9. They just went into 4th grade, which is about the equivalent of standard 3, standard 4, back in Trinidad. And it's been rough for them. It's been rough.
Oh gosh, the adjustment.
And so, coming from a long line of teachers myself, both my parents are teachers or were teachers. It's been interesting for me to kind of balance really pushing them to do well. And still kind of listening to some of the anxieties, that they have and so on. And so that's really kind of, I think, like just tested my fathering, if that is a word. Trying to strike that balance. So that's Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I guess it's a little bit intimidating for them, maybe. Well, maybe I don't know if they're able to kind of conceptualize, but I mean, daddy is doctor, so there is I don't know if there's an unspoken understanding or expectation there, that well, you can't just be average. You have to aim as high as you can.
I don't know. I don't know that they know what that quite means, you know
right.
what I mean? I mean, when I got my PhD was maybe 7 years ago. So, I'm not too sure they appreciate that in the same way. But they do know we have high expectations for them academically.
Right.
Like I said, that's what I just kind of was uppermost. I think they'll be fine, but there's definitely a moment now of them getting over the curve. We just in the third or fourth week of school. So that's the other piece too. It's also they've been on a break for a really long time. In Michigan, they out of school first week of June to last week of August. So that's about 3 solid months. Yeah. So they have like a full,
Yeah.
So yeah, it if you don't do anything during the summer, I mean, it's kind of really hard to kind of come back and get into that thing.
To get back into the groove.
So hopeful.
Okay.
So there's that. That takes up a huge chunk of my life. Other than that, I work. So work is the other big thing that I do. I work for an organization that actually uses sport to combat racism and fight for social justice. So that's kind of the work that I do. I work with middle school age young people all the way up to the professional leagues in the United States. So that takes quite a little bit of work, a little bit of travel, a little bit of moving around. So yeah, that's the other kind of big piece. And then, I got Trinidadian by heart, so I like to do my little gardening and things. So I'm a little scorpion pepper by so, my little scotch bonnet by so. But like I tell you before, the temperature is dipping. So right now it's just see me running out in the morning to bring in my plants because I do today looking cold and they can't take no frostness. So I just had to bring them inside and so on.
Just now, frost.
Yeah, they know about frost. So yeah, just now I might need to set up something inside, hopefully get some lamps and things and see if we could make it through this winter. I never tried it through the winter before. But it's our first time for everything.
Hello. So you're a plant dad, essentially.
Well, I guess you could call me a plant dad too. Yeah. I have a little time.
That's a plant mom, a plant dad. Those are labels going around these days.
Well, I never heard that label before, but I will take that because I have a little Spanish time by so too. Who fighting up, but he did.
Were you into that when you were in Trinidad?
Yeah. Born and raised in San Juan, Santa Cruz. So, we had to have a little shadow Benny and we had mango and, we grew a little body, them kind of thing. Yeah, a little pumpkin, yeah.
Our mutual friend, Dr. Tracy Rogers, was also a guest on the show in season 1. And, prior to her moving to Jamaica, I don't think she was a plant mom. But now she is a full-fledged plant mom. So there's something about plants. My mother is also a plant mom. So
plants are amazing. Growing up, my mom always had plants. She still does. A ton. When I say a ton, I mean a ton. My brother, he's also really big into plants as well. And then we were also big into animals. So fish, snake, bird,
plant family,
mouse, all them things we have. So yeah, I love plants. It's been interesting being in a place where you have to learn about plants, whereas back home you kind of know what plants are and what they do, and you have to know plants here by season, what could be outside in the cold.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's been a learning curve, but we get in there.
That's that temperate life. You are constantly tropical life. Now you're in that temperate life.
Yeah, it's a different life for sure. You see me covering up my neck.
I'm watching, you're kind of up there, so you're warming up.
Sore throat.
I know you talked a bit. You could just kind of, gloss it over a bit, but you did mention that you work with using sport to combat racism. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
How has that experience been um, in the States?
Yeah, it's been interesting to say the least. We definitely in a moment in the United States around the conversation around race and racism. The premise, if you want to call it that, for us and the organization I work with, is that sport brings people together already. People put aside their differences to play sport. It doesn't matter what race they are or religion or age. They kind of put those things apart and they work towards a common goal. So sport for us is like the perfect metaphor that we would like society to be, right? Can we all put aside our differences in spite of what they are and kind of work towards some common goals as a society? So that's really why we try to use sport as a catalyst, and we have a lot of conversations around that. So my role has been to develop the curriculum, develop the activities, develop the conversations essentially that we have, and then we use sport as that backdrop. So we work with rec teams, recreational teams,
Right.
or we work with, like I said, more professional teams as well, teams within the NBA, the NFL, NASCAR, those types of places. Again, goal trying to have these conversations and try to bridge that gap. Like I said, we're in some really interesting times in the United States around the conversation.
Interesting is an understatement.
Yes, it's a euphemism, yes, for sure. But yeah, trying to make a difference.
I like that. Do you think that is something that would be, because of course the view or the understanding or experience rather of racism within the United States is very different from what you or we would experience here in Trinidad and Tobago. And I think when I went to Howard, that was kind of my first hand experience of what, the differences and understanding some of the nuances.
Right.
In terms of, because Howard is a historically Black university, it's an HBCU. So, hearing certain things and wondering, well, why is that like a big deal? Coming from Trinidad, where it's,
right.
For the greater parts, especially around Carnival time, World War One. And then you basically may have racism, an experience of it within the two major ethnic groups, which would be Afro-Trinidadian and Indo-Trinidadian. But of course, in America, it's, definitely a lot of African-American and Caucasian, and that the rift or the differences in that realm. What you would have used with your program in the United States, do you think that something like that would work in Trinidad and Tobago? Our experience of racism.
Yeah, that's a fascinating question. It's one that I've asked myself dozens of times.
Oh,
like dozens.
So it's fascinating, but not unique.
No. I have asked myself that. I've asked myself. I mean, it's definitely unique. I don't think anybody else has ever asked me that. But I honestly don't know. I think theoretically it should work.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes that in Trinidad we like to delude ourselves maybe a little bit and say,
a lot.
Even you just said it, right? Carnival, we won.
Yeah.
I think some of what needs to happen is an expression that we do have some challenges. People do have prejudices and biases, whether we want to call it racist or racism or whatever. There might be other labels they want to put on it, but regardless of those labels, I think at the root of it, we do have certain biases and prejudices and preferences. And if we approach those with an open mind, I think something like this could work for sure. Like I said, the goal here is for people to understand who they are, their identities, for them to understand why they might refer to themselves in certain ways and others refer to them in different ways.
Right.
For them to understand that our goal is for us to feel like we are all included. And I think, so again, that basic kernel of an idea, I think can work anywhere. But the nuances of the context, I think are very important in how you implement things like that. And so I wonder, if Trinidad, is at that moment and at that time and in that space where something like this could work. It's
sounds like a longitudinal study waiting to happen.
Well, it's going to happen sooner or later, but yes, because I'm interested in seeing.
All right, great. Tell me when that happens.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, of course. Of course, I'm calling you
I'm
and
not into
I'm
research, but
calling
I would like to
Dr.
be there
Dr.
for that.
Rogers. You and
Yeah.
Dr. Rogers will be involved.
Calling Tracy, you heard
There
it,
you go. All the way in
right? We have
Jamaica.
work for you,
All the
right?
way in Jamaica.
So, I mean, we would have seen it's so interesting in terms of your identity. Yeah? I mean, especially for sports, because for those of us, some of us are still smarting from the loss. At the time of this recording, we would have just TKR, Trinidad Night Riders, Trinbago Night Riders would have experienced a crushing, humiliating defeat at the hands of the Guyana Amazon Warriors last night. Don't know why I brought it up, because I'm
No,
hating.
you gotta bring it up. These things are important. And let me tell you something about living in the United States, right? If you're living in Trinidad, I think you could surround yourself with your Trinidadian comrades, and you could lick your wounds, so to speak.
Yes.
When you live in the States, the people who you're closest to is, especially in Michigan, right, where Trinidadians few and far between. It's Caribbean people you're lining with, right? Man from Jamaica, who from St. Lucia, who from Dominica, who from Ghana, all of we is one, right? All of we is Caribbean family. So the amount of old talk I get about chicken curry today, I cannot even begin to tell you. Chicken curry, all I get is chicken. I set a text, I set a thing on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And it's sad because them fellas is not, I don't know, boy. I don't know. We make 100. We make 100 themselves.
I don't wanna say my thoughts on why that happened. But what I will say is, that's a conversation for not this recording. Because who knows, we might want to work with them one day. But what I'm saying is, you have to mind your business. It really hurt. It really, really, really hurt my feelings. And I am not an avid sports fan by any means. I am, and I make no apologies about this, I am a bandwagonist. Okay. But World Cup, I'm there. I am very much interested in the footballers. Not too much the football, but I love getting into it and getting behind teams and learning about. I love that about World Cup. I don't really have that experience or care for it otherwise. I'm much the same with CPL and T20. I think I discovered my love for cricket at about age 13 or 14 when I discovered One Day International. I did not know that those were things. I thought they were only test matches, and I find test match boring, no teeth. So
it's boring. Just a different kind of
excitement. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Different kind of excitement.
It's not making sense to me. So One Day Internationals were it. Now we have T20, and I was on it. I was like, all right, we make the finals. We're gonna mash up the place, but the place mashed us up.
Yeah, that final was hard. That final was hard to watch. I wouldn't lie to you. It was hard. The same side who 3 days ago we beat them too. That'll make it hard, I don't know.
Yeah, boy. And
we didn't even compete. I don't feel like we compete.
Better than doubles. Like I don't know. Yeah, it's too much. And so a lot of things surrounding that match would be boiling my water, which leads us to our next segment.
Okay.
What boils your water, Andrew? What tell us some of your pet peeves about anything, your field, cricket, life in Michigan, anything. Because that is part of mental health. The things that upset us. As you just told me, we need to let it out.
Agreed. So I think food is the biggest peeve for me. I discovered this food, yeah. And you're like, I'll explain and you'll understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, I realized this when I went to Jamaica. It's the Caribbean, but Trinidad food is not Jamaican food. And I really realized that I'm just passionate about Trinidadian food. I like how it tastes. I like the variety that we have. Yeah, and I think we really lucky in Trinidad to have, people from different heritages, and the food, kind of mix up, and it produce these new types of things. And so you just don't get those things anywhere else, right? Unless you in a space where you have a lot of Caribbean people, Trinidadian people.
Yeah.
It just doesn't exist. And so that's one of my biggest peeves in Michigan.
I feel for you.
I tend to cook. I don't really have a choice. If you want to taste anything that remotely tastes like home, you gotta cook it yourself.
Yeah.
Especially where I am. in Michigan.
Yeah.
Right? Again, all the folks down in DC and Florida and thing, I know all your
Big up Silver Springs, there's a double
correct,
space
correct.
there.
And Plantation and Fort Lauderdale. Heal up, right? But for like all like and Flatbush and thing. But all for like me, so pressure from our side. So yeah, you know, I'll be looking for my little shadow benny, going in the Chinese store for what is called cilantro. Cilantro. Not cilantro. Cilantro. With a U. C-U cilantro. I have to find it now, because I have to look for that. So when you go and ask them for shadow benny, man, what's in your cut eye? What
is that?
Right. So that's one of my peeves. Food. And then
Yes.
And then my accent is the next peeve, because people will be watching me like I talk in French or Greek. You know, when I use it in terms. Now, I blame myself. Tell myself, how many people contribute my fast self? No. How many people contribute my fast self?
Right. Yes.
I should have changed my accent a little bit now. But I tell myself, the one thing I'm not compromising on, I'm compromising on a lot of other things. You know what I mean? I have to follow the rules. I have to follow the system.
Yes.
I went to school here. My children born here. You know
right.
Paying taxes here. You know what I mean? So tell myself, by this accent that my mother gave me.
Yeah. Your mother gave that. That's true.
My mother gave me this. Mm-hmm. But the challenge with that now is that people don't really understand.
Nobody understands you.
I went to order a bagel one time, and a man asked me for a hamburger. I confused. I don't understand how bagel and hamburger sound the same.
Bagel, burger, of course, it's exactly the same.
I don't know. I went another time. I went into Macy's. No, not Macy's. Sears. And I asked the man, let me get a battery. Looking for some batteries. You have any batteries?
No, you had to ask for a battery.
But it take me about 2 minutes now, where he confused about what I asked him, and I confused as to why he can't understand battery now.
Yeah.
So peeve in my day-to-day experience has been my accent and food, for the most part. Other than that, I'm not alright. Even the cold.
Yeah.
And alright.
Right.
Yeah.
That life, I remember asking for a torchlight, and they were very confused.
Oh, what is that? Flashlight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't know they were like this, and they brought the tiki torches for me.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, no, a torchlight, you use it to see in the dark. Like, you mean a flashlight?
Yeah, flashlight. Yeah, no, you have to be the accent. Even to this day, somehow when I say the letter A, they hear E. And I don't know how. I try how to sometimes. That's the one I try to, like, even when I'm spelling.
Like what? Like what would be an example?
So like I say, I'm spelling my name, right? My name is Andrew, Andrew. They will write E. I do not know why they hear E, but they hear E. So usually when
Andrew.
So the peeve is with my email address, right? So what's the email address? Well, my email address is andrew.s.macintosh and so I spell it.
Yeah.
And they inevitably always write an E. So I always have to be like, no, it's not an E, it's a A.
You have to say A as an apple.
I was like A.
But then it just also sounds like you're drawing on the E. They might still write E.
No, because I think E is like a my sister's a linguist, so she explains with the E versus the A.
He said we say A, they say A.
I don't know.
I guess.
I don't know. I try. So peeves, those are my peeves. Other than that, like I say, I enjoy a lot of things here.
Okay.
There are some things I would say are not peeves, so the gun violence that I've seen, random acts of gun violence in the United States. That has been, I wouldn't call that a peeve, right? Like that doesn't peeve me. That is outright scary. But like I say, there are challenges everywhere, so I try to adapt and adjust, and give praise to the man on high, and say, Jaja, what is to Israel is. You know what I mean?
Amen. Hallelujah. So you're talking about your peeves and even things that are outright fairs or I guess there may be things that may enrage you if you do get to that point. But in terms of fears, I mean, as a person of African descent living in the United States and and witnessing the things that we've all been seeing, I guess it's also a perfect segue to the next segment, which is how is your mental health? Not just in terms of that, but in general. I mean, you have quite a lot on your plate. You have a
Right.
family. You have your job. You're traveling a lot. You're doing some big things in terms of your work. How's your mental health? How are you managing?
Yeah. I think I've had some moments, one of the most interesting moments for me. So I've always been, and you've known me for years, so I've always been a really positive person.
Facts.
I would even say happy go lucky to some extent. I think having my son, twin boys, that
Yeah.
was a real moment for me. I've never felt so tired in my life as when we had the boys.
But you did just say twin boys, right?
Twin boys, yeah. I was still in school, wrapping up the PhD. I'd started my current job, trying to pay some rent. You know what I mean? We had relocated. My wife wasn't working, just us, the boys. So that was hard. So yeah, I think it's still been challenging. It's not challenging in the same way, but living away from family, and a support system, and then even where you have a support system,
Yeah.
it's not the same culturally. Some of the practices that they
Yeah.
have, etc. So
Yeah.
trying to figure some of that out. So yeah, it's been a lot to juggle and to balance. I would say things like my plants help. I don't talk to the plants, but I know some people do, but I don't.
Don't
But
you?
I don't. But having them has been good. Because
Hmm.
you have perfect control over plants in a way, right? I also have a
Hmm.
couple aquariums where I have some fish. You know what I mean? If you kind of think of those as like ecosystems, you could control the temperature, you could control the alkalinity, the acidity of the water, the chemicals that are in there. So it's helped to have things like that. And then, a big thing for me as well has been running. I used to run track
Running. Okay.
back when I was in high school, and I've gone back to that. So I try to do 2-3 miles every day. And
How much is that in kilometers? We don't use that system here.
kilometers. All I do miles in Trinidad. I like you.
No, we don't know about that. What's that? We're
So
British acid.
a 5K is 3 miles. 5 kilometers is 3 miles.
Okay.
Five
So you do
kilometers is
that
three
every
miles.
day?
So yeah, I do like about a savannah. Savannah is about 2.5 miles. I do a savannah.
So there are
Um,
people in Trinidad and Tobago who are getting medals now because it's 5K season,
right,
right? They
right.
just, we run in different 5Ks, like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe weeks apart or months apart or what have you. And so what you're saying is that you're doing this every day.
Yeah, around a 3 miles every day.
Okay.
But again, right? Like you talk about mental health and how you cope. That
Yeah.
has been really good, right? So it's just me and my thoughts. Some days I do 6 miles. Um,
Yeah.
it's been helpful. And one of the things that I would say about Michigan, it's it's not great when it's cold and everything is white. Um,
Yeah.
but in the spring and the summer, where it's green and lush and you have the flowers, it's really
Beautiful.
wonderful. Yeah, it's gorgeous, right? And
Yeah.
so lots of trails, be able to kind of run by rivers, run by lakes. So that has been like a real blessing. I've always also been an early bird, so you get up at 5. It's a cool morning or a chilly morning, as the
Cold.
case might be. But you go out there, right, and you spend an hour running. You get back home around 6:30, and you feel good. You kind of
Yeah.
you're able to kind of face the day. So
I'm a
that
morning workout person myself. Yes.
yeah, so that has been truly helpful for me. I think to just
Ricardo is not.
keep me keep me grounded and keep me sane.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of I guess your work, because I think if you're saying that you're using these programs, you're trying to combat racism, you would hear a lot of experiences from the people that you're speaking to about their own individual
Absolutely.
experiences, well, individual and collective.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that? Because I mean, it's not counseling, but it is in a sense,
No, it
maybe
is.
counseling.
No, in a way, no, yeah. In some ways it is. Yeah, no. So you certainly hear a lot from people. I think one of the things that certainly helps me is the fact that I'm not from the United States.
Okay.
Right. I think some of what I'm able to do is almost kind of put myself at arm's length, right? Like this is not my experience. I haven't experienced it in the same way. But I also think the other piece of it, which is absolutely true, is I have had different examples of the way that Black people can succeed, right? In a way that I don't think a lot of African Americans have as well. And so I think it has allowed me to have a little bit more hope. A lot of times they don't have, and so it's the challenging part. I think about my job initially was listening enough to learn how my experience was different, but trusting enough that my experience is still similar, right? Because
I love that.
Because I'm still a Black man in America.
Right.
And so the interactions and reactions to me, some of the things that, African Americans have been experiencing for years are some similar things. But simultaneously, there are some nuances to that. Because if you, this is one of these stories that kind of always resonated with me. There's a lady at my church. She's in her 70s now. So we're talking about racism and what it looks like. The church is predominantly white. It's Anglican Episcopalian, and so people are kind of sharing their experiences. And so when you think about racism in Trinidad, we kind of go back to 1962. That's when we got independence. Today's Republic Day as well. But I don't think we recognize in the Caribbean what the Black experience has been like in the United States, where racism has been so codified into laws and policies.
Yeah.
That people who are literally our grandparent age, in some cases our parent age, went through it and lived it. So this lady's in her 70s, and she starts talking about not being able to go to particular schools. Right? Here's somebody who's sitting right across, slavery in Trinidad to me, you're thinking 1838.
It's so far removed.
Yeah, it's like, we had slavery and years ago, and then we abolished it and we get emancipation. But because of things like Jim Crow and so on in the United States, so you could actually talk to somebody who experienced racism that was supported by the state, where if you were in a space, police could come and remove you and lock you up just because you are Black in that space. Like you're talking to somebody about that. And so that's very, very fresh. And so it's me having to understand that I don't understand racism in that way, where my parents and grandparents are telling me about their experiences. While simultaneously, like I say, recognizing that, I have to think about my son, 2 Black boys who will grow up in this country. And how people might perceive them. So it's been interesting. The running helps. Going to church helps. Playing a little bit of soccer. I don't call it football no more.
Wow.
The soccer helps. Because I hear when you say football in Michigan, people watch it. When you say football, what football are you talking about? It's been tough. I give them that. I can
imagine.
I do in soccer. Whole lot soccer, but you see the accent ain't going nowhere.
And the egg.
The accent ain't going nowhere.
What it looks like. But I remember my godsister, she was also a guest, Dr. Cambernoa London, and she is an athletic trainer. And I remember she was saying that when you're talking about your accent, and it reminds me, she said that's also her own little rebellion. She spells words with the U. Like color would be in America, COLOR. And she's like, no, that's her own little rebellion, just keeping the U's in there and spelling it the way that we would. Yeah, she said that's just her own little rebellion and reminder of where she's from. Shout out to you, Casey.
Yeah, I had a professor tell me about my Oxford commas, and we went into a whole debate about that. So yeah, I get them the U too. There's no problem. We can take out the U.
So that's what you just have to give them the U. That's right. I did it too. When I was at school, I'm like, this is the correct way to spell it. I'm sorry. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Hold on to that accent that your mother gave you.
The accent that my mother gave me, and we just play cricket.
Play cricket.
We don't do baseball.
Yeah, no. They also so many little things that now remembering. I remember lots of people used to ask me if I was Hispanic because of my name, and they would also tell me that I speak English really well.
I got that too.
Yeah, I was like,
I got that.
My
it's
language.
Good for me to go talk to all these white people because they will see how black people speak really well. Somebody's giving me a compliment.
Yeah.
I said, well, my dad is an English teacher, and English is my first language.
Big up to Mr. Macintosh. I mean, Andrew, this has been great. Like I kind of don't want this to end. I'm really enjoying this conversation. Ricardo,
was conversation. Was that conversation?
But apparently you have, responsibilities and all that stuff. So
just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, I shocked actually that I ain't hear one of the boys and they're fighting. I talk to them serious. Yeah, so I get them the granny look now.
You get them the eye. You get them the eye and the finger.
Going on a call, but they do this
when that voice come out, it's pressure. So it's been so great having you. Can you tell us, if there's anything that you have going on that you'd like us to know about? In terms of your work, in terms of your job, in terms of something maybe you didn't mention at all.
That is true. And thanks for prompting me. So myself and a couple of colleagues, Dr. Stacey Leger and Jeremy Francis, we founded something called the Neurodiversity Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago.
The Neurodiversity Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago.
Neurodiversity Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago.
And are they here or are they also abroad?
Yeah, so it's incorporated in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, great.
We are going to have our launch at the end of this month, so from the 31st, not this month, 31st of October into November 4th. There are going to be a range of activities, clinics, art shows that we're going to be putting on. More to come. We're going to be publicizing. We hope to get on a couple morning radio shows and to be able to kind of showcase them.
This works out well. Ricardo is actually a host of a radio show.
Yes.
On the living room on WAC 90.1 FM. So
there you go.
This works.
Well, we will talk offline, Ricardo, about this initiative. But yeah, this is our attempt to try to give back. I have two nephews who are neurodiverse. It kind of opened my eyes.
And what does that mean for our listeners and our viewers who may not know?
Yeah, absolutely. It means people who learn differently. People who have different what I call neurological or cognitive gifts. Usually they have a hard time going to traditional schools and being educated in traditional ways. I would even say, especially Trinidad, where those ways tend to have been old school, you know what I mean, so to speak. So,
yeah.
Having done a lot of psychology and worked with a lot of people in the field, like I said, both my parents being teachers, and then, just having my nephews as well, I've just been, just my eyes have been open to some of these challenges, lack of resources, lack of understanding and appreciation. And so we're just trying to, one, raise awareness, two, provide people with resources that may not always exist. I think there are pockets of resources in Trinidad and the Caribbean. So the goal is to try to bolster those resources, add as well, and hopefully, form a network to really shed light on this. So that's kind of the goal. Hopefully there's some research in there down the road. But yeah, that's kind of the big thing that we're working towards right now.
That's amazing. So will you be here for that launch?
Hopefully. Trying to work that out. Again, I have, like you said, a lot going on. My two colleagues.
That cup is very full.
Dr. Leger and Jeremy Francis, they'll be on the ground. Jeremy lives in Trinidad.
Okay.
Dr. Rogel. She's in the UK. She's a physician across there. But yeah, they both will be on the ground for that. So we're excited about that.
That is awesome and very exciting. We're looking forward to it. And I guess before we close up, I just have one more thing to ask, because it's so rare that we find that we get to speak with or interact with males in the mental health space. So for you, okay, Ricardo is having a moment. For you, and especially working with athletes, how has that been in terms of, bringing in that mental health component? I guess in terms of their performance and motivation, that kind of thing. How has that been? Do you feel like it's something that they've received well, or is it something you kind of had to introduce?
So I'll go back 10, 12 years. So I started doing that work in Trinidad and Tobago. Actually, I worked with a lot of the junior cricket teams,
right?
A couple of the secondary school teams as well. I would say it was new at the time from a Trinidad perspective, yes. but people wanted it. I would say, especially within cricket, there was a lot of demand. That's what got me interested and got me to the United States. Since I've been here, though, I would say I do less of it. I do know that it is a huge field here. They even do mental performance in the military here, for instance. A lot of my colleagues who've studied with me, they go and they train in the military, right? So when you think about those elite military teams like the SEALs and so on, they go through mental toughness training. How do you focus? How do you manage your emotions? Those types of things. But I, in doing my program, became a lot more interested in how sports can help our psychology versus how psychology can help sports. And so I'm less interested now in, hey, because I can hone these psychological things, I can perform better in sports. And I've been more interested in, if I participate in sports, what does that mean in terms of my psychology and in terms of my society, right? And so if you kind of go back, like I said, to things like running, right? Like for me, running, you're releasing certain chemicals, right? You distract yourself from some of these things going on. You're able to kind of think and reflect and to process. Those are things that come about because of your participation in health and wellness and physical activity. So that's more my focus now. But yes, the other side of it, which is visualization and progressive muscle relaxation and mindfulness and all those things. So that's huge in the United States. Huge.
All right. Well, again, this has been great. I really don't want to end. I have no more questions, and I'm sure, and they might be tearing on the house. So
they're not tearing on the house. Trust me, I'll know. If they're tearing on the house, I'll know. Trust me.
But if anybody wants to get in contact with you, for your work or even in terms of the neuro diversity foundation, yep. How do we find you?
Yeah, so I just, it's andrew.s.macintosh @gmail.com.
And that's Andrew with an A and S as in snacks. Not Andrew, F as in fish.
Andrew with an A. But what I would say, the thing in Trinidad is, but it's M-A-C, it's not M-C. It's M-A-C.
Right, M-A-C. So Andrew S. Macintosh at gmail.com.
Yep, people can reach out to me there.
Awesome. Well, this
I would give
great.
people my phone number, but people gonna call me and then run up my phone bill. So
yeah, and also they might be like messaging on WhatsApp at inappropriate hours. Like we don't have boundaries. So the email will work for now. He's pretty good with email, guys. And I guess as the social media comes out more in terms of the foundation, we'll be able to find out more there. Right?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as well, so you could also look for me on LinkedIn using
okay, so email on LinkedIn, guys, not WhatsApp. Don't do that. Right? So thank you so much. We're so grateful to you for being with us. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me and keep up the program. Thanks to Dilmah as well. You need to send me a box of that tea with the ginger.
You could get that, say less, because you want to be warm in Michigan and you like tea. Then tell me you like tea.
Not in Michigan. package the thing and ship the thing. Because I ain't getting that in Michigan. You know that.
You don't get Dilmah in Michigan, but we'll change that. You get some organic green tea with ginger, and they have some really interesting flavors as well. I think they also have a ginger with honey. They have some really nice, pure Ceylon extra strength. You might need that, after you go for your run and thing. So, thanks again to Dilmah for keeping it classy and cool and relaxing and healthy, because ginger is good for your immune system. So
absolutely.
Manage
Especially
stress.
Especially when it's cool.
Yeah. Except when it's cool. Yeah.
Especially when it's cool.
So thanks again, Andrew, for being with us. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to probably doing something again in the future, especially when it comes to the foundation. Right?
Absolutely.
So thank you for spending some time with us.
You all need to come.
All right,
you all need to come through.
We'll
send you an invite to the foundation's launch.
Yes, that would be great. We'd love that. We'd like a ticket to come see in Michigan, but you're talking about that. But it's okay.
We're not talking about that. Ricardo said 2 tickets.
Ladies, viewers, again, thank you for tuning in for yet another wonderful episode of Chit Chat with 2 T's, where we discuss all the mental health actual factuals, right? Special thanks again to our host, that's me. Special thanks again to our guest, Dr. Andrew McIntosh, right? And as usual, I am your host, jvaldez. And until next time, take care and see. Yay! You did it!